The doctor stopped talking. His eyes stayed on the chart like it had teeth. I watched his jaw tighten. One breath. Another. The room hummed with fluorescent indifference, the smell of antiseptic sharp enough to cut through the throb in my hand. A janitor's hand, wrapped in gauze, still bleeding a little. He looked at me again. Not the way doctors look at patients, more like witnesses. "Wait here," he said. The door closed too softly. Time stretched. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. I didn't check it. I already knew who it would be. "Enjoy poverty." The words replayed anyway. Her voice in text. Efficient. Surgical. Footsteps returned. Not one pair. Many. White coats filled the room like a silent jury. No one smiled. No one sat. The first doctor cleared his throat. "Sir," he said, carefully, "your blood work flagged something we don't usually see." I nodded. I had learned how to nod without hope. He swallowed. "Your DNA shows a direct familial link to someone who should not be genetically possible." The room tilted. He leaned closer. "You're related to—" The name landed like a dropped scalpel. Cold. Sharp. Final. I didn't faint. I didn't shout. I did what I'd been doing for months. I stayed still. Staying still had become a skill after the firing, after the frozen accounts, after the sudden emails that said restructuring and compliance review, while my ex-wife's new husband smiled from magazine covers. He was everywhere. Tech summits, charity galas, a man who collected applause the way others collected stamps. She had collected him while we were still married. I saw it now. The late nights, the sudden passwords, the way she stopped arguing and started smiling instead. Calm is always a warning sign. When I lost my job, she didn't pretend to be surprised. When my bank accounts locked, she didn't ask questions. She sent the text, "Enjoy poverty." I replayed that moment often, not with anger, with precision, like a crime scene you revisit until every angle is memorized. The divorce had been clean on paper, too clean. I had assumed efficiency was kindness. I had been wrong. Standing in that hospital room, surrounded by specialists, I felt the old pattern crack. Not rage, not grief, alignment. The doctor repeated the name, softer this time, like volume might change reality. The billionaire. Her husband. My ex-wife's savior. My supposed destroyer. Genetically, impossibly, undeniably, my biological father. I didn't tell anyone. I went back to mopping floors, back to empty apartments that echoed when I walked, back to ramen and night shifts and the quiet dignity of invisibility. But my mind moved. I pulled records, old ones, birth certificates that suddenly had amendments, medical histories with redacted lines. I requested my adoption file. I wasn't adopted. That was the first lie. The second was harder. My mother's timeline didn't hold. A gap, a consulting trip, a non-disclosure settlement dated 9 months before I was born. I traced shell companies like Constellations. The billionaire's legal signature appeared again and again, always one step removed, always clean. I watched my ex-wife differently after that, from a distance. Social media posts curated like museum exhibits, her hand on his arm, her laugh too loud. Did she know? That question kept me awake more than hunger ever did. I ordered a private DNA confirmation, paid in cash, no digital trail. The result arrived in a plain envelope. Probability, 99.9998%. I felt nothing. Not then. I requested a meeting with a family office under the pretense of a legal error. They responded within an hour. That told me everything. I kept my posture small. I asked simple questions. I let them underestimate the janitor with the bandaged hand. Inside, every piece slid into place. My firing wasn't collateral damage. It was house cleaning. They hadn't known who I was. They just knew I was in the way. The confrontation happened in glass. His office overlooked the city like it owned it. He
He didn't offer a seat. Power rarely does. I placed the DNA report on the desk. No speech, no accusation. He read it once, then again. His face didn't change, but the room did. Air thickened. Time slowed. "This isn't possible," he said. "It is," I replied. One sentence. Calm. Measured. He asked my mother's name. I watched recognition bloom like rot. Silence stretched. Not empty. Heavy. "You should leave," he said finally. I didn't. "I'm not here for money," I said. "True. I'm here because your wife destroyed my life to protect yours." That landed. He closed his eyes, just for a moment. Behind the glass, the city kept moving. It always does. I didn't confront her directly. I didn't need to. I forwarded the DNA confirmation to his board, to his legal counsel, to the compliance teams that lived for anomalies.
I included one line. Ask her how she knew. The fallout was quiet. No headlines, just doors closing, accounts unlocking, investigations opening like flowers at night. She called me. Once. Then again. I didn't answer. When we finally met, weeks later, she looked smaller. Not poorer, just diminished. "You ruined everything," she said. I studied her face like an old photograph. "You ruined me first," I said. Not loudly, not angrily. She cried. I waited. "I didn't know," she whispered. That was the last lie. I stood, straightened my jacket, the janitor's jacket, clean, pressed. "I know," I said. "That's why this hurts." I walked out before she could respond. I don't mop floors anymore. I don't sit in glass offices either. I took a settlement. Not hush money. A correction. Enough to live cleanly, quietly. The billionaire never called me his son. I never asked him to. Some truths aren't bridges. They're boundaries. At night, I think about the moment in the hospital, the silence, the way everything broke open without sound. I didn't get my old life back. I got something better. Distance. The last message I ever saw from her still sits on my phone. "Enjoy poverty." I do, because it's the last thing she ever gave me, and the first thing I chose to leave behind.